They want us to see the contradictions. They want us to see the nonsense, that it makes no sense. Because if you're told to do something or asked to do something, and you look at it and you say, okay, let's look at the evidence. Why do you want me to do this? And you look at it and you say, well, actually, I can see that now. I can see why you want me to do this. So yeah, I'm going to do it because that makes sense. My self-respect is making that decision. But if you can see that it's nonsense and full of contradictions, but you still do it, then your self-respect has been conceded and only submission remains. So I will not concede my self-respect to this. I will not do any of it. And I'll tell you what kind of tends to happen, because we are interacting with this field. And this field is all possibility. And the more you expand to greater levels of frequency within this field, the more possibility you're accessing. That's why when people start to expand and what we call awaken, they find amazing synchronicity starts to appear in their life, and coincidences and things just happen and what have you. Why? It's because you're now expanding into greater planes of consciousness, all possibility, and therefore you are able to manifest more possibility. And when you concede to a state of fear, then that's by its very nature a very small, dense bubble of perception, frequency, and therefore interaction with all possibility, and therefore you're going to manifest very limited possibility. You know, we see the dynamic of I fear to do it, so I don't do it. But on another level, it's I fear to do it, so I can only access this very narrow band of potential possibility.
Only on becoming.
And when you let go of fear, then you are accessing a much greater swathe of possibility, which you can manifest. And the reason I'm saying all that is that when you stand for what you believe in, and you don't concede your self-respect, it's amazing how you think that if I do this, that's going to happen. But often it doesn't. So one of the things is that people think, well, if I do this, I'll lose my job. But is that job the only possibility in your life? Is it the only thing that you could manifest? Is it indeed something that's making you happy and joyful and fulfilled? Because if you look back at my life, in 1990, I was a television presenter with the BBC. I was doing the hello, good evening and welcome, and presenting the sport, and I'm presenting some new stuff as well. And then I went through enormous ridicule, and you think, well, that's that, he's finished. But what emerged were other possibilities and other directions. And would I swap my life of the last 30 years for the life before? Not a chance. So it's worth thinking that if I do what I know to be right, this is going to happen. Well, maybe it will, maybe it won't. We're talking all possibility. Everything becomes possible once you open to it. So many things that happen, you think that's my worst nightmare. And then you look back and you think, well, if that hadn't have happened, I wouldn't be doing this. And oh my God, I'm glad I'm doing this. So let's operate within all possibility. You know, that other possibilities will emerge so long as you are open to them and you let go of the fear, because fear freezes you and limits your possibility. We are definitely, clearly moving into a situation of two societies. And what are those societies? They're based on different states of consciousness. We're kind of going full circle here. This society will continue in its controlled state, and this society will go on seeking a return to normality. And in its seeking that return, it opens itself to the carrot in front of the donkey. And if you go on seeking that, you're open to this manipulation. But if you say, well, hold on, for me to go back to this normal, I'm going to have to submit my self-respect. I'm going to have to submit to all these things that I know not only are wrong for me, are bad for me, but I know they're systematically there to have that effect. So I'm not going to seek that anymore. I'm not going to pursue normality as it was, because it ain't going to happen. Is that the only way to live that we've been living? Or is there another way? So what I'm seeing is people who are in this awakening state are saying, okay, that's gone. Maybe it's good that it's gone, in the sense that I would have played out the rest of my life
only on becoming
in that
supernatural
world otherwise. But now there's a blank sheet of paper. What can we do? Well, what I'm seeing is more and more people who are awakening are getting together. They're coming together in mutual support, in a way that's saying, okay, that's gone, so let's build something else. And what I'm seeing are smiles on their face. I'm seeing hugs. I'm seeing joy. But there are an enormous number of people now that are awake. Still an enormous that aren't, but an enormous number that are. And we don't know about lots of them because they're in those families on their own. Let's build something different instead of chasing a world that's gone. We are talking about a deeply, deeply insecure state of consciousness. This is why they prepare so in such detail over such a long period of time, because they're terrified of states of flux. They're terrified of things where the outcome is uncallable. They have to control everything. I've used the analogy of a football match. If they were involved in a football match, they'd have to control both sides and the referee, so that they knew the score before the game started, because otherwise they'd feel very insecure at not knowing what the outcome possibly could be. And so they're in a very, for them, a very frightening situation too, because they know that they're not there yet. And if they don't get there very fast, then the very fact of putting themselves on public display and the things that they're doing now is awakening more and more people. Once you break out of the bubble a little bit, like, what the bloody hell's going on? This is not right. Who's running this? What's it happening? Then suddenly the bubbles burst and you start to become aware of other things. I've seen so many people go through that process in the last year. And they know that. They know that in playing their hand, they're going to wake a lot of people up by doing it. They are trying to get to that line as fast as possible. And in doing so, they have to put themselves even more on public display. We have the opportunity now for humans to take another road, to have the self-realization of our true power, the self-realization that conceding self-respect is conceding your life and your power to impact upon your life, and that we should not be acquiescent people, just allowing a few people to tell us what to do, which basically humanity has throughout known human history. We have a chance now to break that cycle and for humanity to come into its power. So there are great opportunities here, as well as great dangers. And what they've manipulated humans to do is build our own prison. And the human psyche has been developed to develop an intellect
only on becoming
that
supernatural
can build its own prison without developing the wisdom to see that that's what it's doing. And so we have been brought through on an intellectual level to the point where we can build our own prison, our own technological prison. And most of the people who are imposing and developing and putting in place this smart grid of human control, they'll be humans. There'll be human consciousness where the cult is just overseeing it and orchestrating it. But it's the creative force of humans that's being used to control humans.
Help by spreading this message. Share with your friends, leave a like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Turn on notifications to stay updated.